Hello, students. I'm Dr. Fulmore, and this session will fundamentally change how you see executive decision-making forever. Today, we're diving into what I call the investment opportunity trap, where doing what's best for your bonus might destroy shareholder value. We're about to expose the dirty little secret of corporate America through the lens of Westerville Company. Imagine them as that hot new brand making those $300 wireless earbuds y'all be flexing with. The ones that make AirPods look basic. This is where accounting gets real, where the numbers don't just speak, they scream about conflicts of interest that cost companies millions. I know you all learn differently. Some of you are visual TikTok learners who need to see the patterns. Others are spreadsheet warriors who live in Excel, and some need stories that stick like that Drake lyric you can't get out of your head. I'm going to speak all your languages today. We're going to use gaming economics from Valorant, subscription models from Netflix, surge pricing from Uber, and yes, even your trauma from seeing your bank balance after a weekend. Every concept will hit different because I'm meeting you where you live, in your apps, your streaming queues, and your Venmo request. Whether you're watching this at 2 a.m. before the exam, no judgment, we've all been there. During your commute on the overcrowded campus bus, or actually during the scheduled class time, respect to the real ones. I've structured this for maximum flexibility. First time through, stay at normal speed and absorb everything. Reviewing before the test? That 1.5 times speed hits different when you already know the vibe. Need to rewatch that calculation? The timestamps are in the description. Confused about a concept? Pause, breathe, try the practice problem, then come back. This isn't a race. It's about understanding. And the recording isn't going anywhere. I'll explain every concept through your world first. Your apps that be draining your bank account. Your streaming services you share passwords for. I don't see nothing. Your daily financial trauma of choosing between gas and groceries. Then connect it to accounting principles that have existed since Carnegie was stacking steel money. Grab your calculator. Your phone calculator works fine, no cap. Download the materials from the Canvas link. Maybe grab that overpriced coffee that's low-key, just sugar milk, and let's transform your understanding of how executives make decisions that either build empires or burn them down. Remember, to know accounting, you must do accounting, so we're about to do the most with these numbers. Meet Westerville Company. They manufacture those premium wireless earbuds that everyone on campus rocks. You know, the ones that cost more than your textbooks, but somehow feel worth it when that bass drops. Think of them as the Tesla of audio. Unnecessary flex, but makes you feel like you've made it. They've been killing it with $1 million in sales last year. But here's where it gets spicy. Their variable expenses ran $300,000. That's the cost of the actual components. The lithium batteries that don't explode, hopefully. The drivers that make Travis Scott sound like he's in your skull. And the packaging that's so aesthetic you keep it. After covering those variable costs, they're left with a contribution margin of $700,000. That's a 70% margin, which is absolutely printing money, like Apple-level margins where they're basically selling you $50 of parts for $200 and you're saying, thank you, may I have another? But hold up, they still got those fixed expenses of $500,000. That's the factory lease in that industrial park you pass on the way to campus, the machinery that costs more than your parents' house, the engineers who make sure your music doesn't sound like it's coming through a tin can, and yes, the executives who are about to make some questionable decisions. After all that, they're left with a net operating income of $200,000. Now here's the critical piece. They've got $625,000 in average operating assets tied up. That's inventory sitting in warehouses. That's machinery humming 24/7. That's cash locked up in operations instead of earning interest. Warren Buffett says, it's not just about how much money you make, but how much money you have to tie up to make it. And that's exactly where our story gets interesting. Now, plot twist. There's a new investment opportunity on the table. Management can invest $120,000 in a new product line. Maybe those gaming headsets y'all been asking for. The ones with RGB lighting that serves no purpose except to drain your battery and look fire on stream. This investment would generate $200,000 in new sales with a contribution margin ratio of 60% and require $90,000 in additional fixed expenses. The company's hurdle rate, that's the minimum return they need, like your minimum GPA to keep your scholarship, is 15%. What happens next is about to expose everything wrong with how we measure executive performance. As Ray Dalio says, the biggest mistake investors make is to believe that what happened in the recent past is likely to persist. But what if I told you the CEO is about to reject a profitable investment because it would lower her bonus? What if the metrics we use to judge success are actually encouraging failure? Buckle up. We're about to learn why residual income might just save corporate America from itself. Question 1. What is last year's margin? Answer: 20%. Let me break this down in a way that'll stick forever. Margin equals net operating income divided by sales, which gives us $200,000 divided by $1 million equals 0.20 or 20%. This means for every dollar Westerville earned in revenue, they kept 20 cents as pure profit after all expenses. That's like when you sell your old iPhone for $500, but after paying for the new case you broke, the screen repair from that party incident, and the cloud storage you forgot to cancel, you only pocket $100. Same energy, bigger numbers. Think about it like your DoorDash side hustle. If you make $100 in delivery fees, but after gas, $30, car wear, $20, and your time, let's call it $30, you're left with $20 profit. That's a 20% margin, and suddenly you understand why some nights aren't worth leaving the dorm. Or consider your friend who resells sneakers, buys them for $200, sells for $250, but after StockX fees, shipping, and authentication, only clears $10. That's a 4% margin and explains why he's still asking to borrow your meal swipes. Westerville's 20% margin is like having a premium Spotify account that actually generates money instead of draining your bank account monthly. Warren Buffett once said, "The difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything." That 20% margin tells us Westerville knows how to say no to wasteful spending and yes to profitable operations. Compare this to Amazon's retail margin of about 3%, or Apple's product margins of nearly 40%. Westerville sits right in that sweet spot, not grinding for pennies like grocery stores with 2% margins, but not quite at luxury brand levels of 50% plus, where they're basically printing money. This margin is their report card, their GPA for profitability, and at 20%, their Dean's List material. The strategic implication here is massive. In 1913, Henry Ford paid his workers $5 a day, double the normal wage, because he understood that margin gives you options. With a 20% margin, Westerville can weather storms, invest in R&D, or return cash to shareholders. It's the difference between living paycheck to paycheck versus having that emergency fund your parents keep telling you about. Malcolm Gladwell would point out that this margin didn't happen overnight. It's the result of 10,000 hours of optimizing operations, negotiating with suppliers, and understanding customer willingness to pay. Remember, margins aren't just numbers. They're the breathing room between thriving and merely surviving. Question 2. What is last year's turnover? Answer: 1.6 times. Here's where it gets juicy. Turnover equals sales divided by average operating assets, giving us $1 million divided by $625,000 equals 1.6. This means every dollar invested in the business generates $1.60 in sales. It's like putting a dollar in a vending machine and getting $1.60 worth of snacks. Except this vending machine never runs out and doesn't eat your bills when you're desperately hungry at 2 a.m. This is exactly like when you calculate your return on that gaming PC you built. You spent $2,000 on the setup, and now you're making $3,200 a year streaming and creating content. That's a turnover of 1.6. Your investment is working harder than you during finals week. Or think about your meal plan. You pay $2,500 per semester, but if you actually calculated the retail value of all the food you consume, especially during late-night stress eating, you might be getting $4,000 worth. That's a turnover ratio that would make any CFO proud. Jeff Bezos built Amazon on the principle of turnover. He famously said, "Your margin is my opportunity." While others focused on margin, he focused on turnover, turning inventory so fast that suppliers were basically financing his growth. Westerville's 1.6 turnover means they're not letting money sit idle like that gym membership you haven't used since January. They're putting those assets to work. Compare this to Walmart's inventory turnover of 8+ times per year. They're moving product faster than gossip spreads in Greek life. The real power move here is understanding that turnover times margin equals ROI. It's multiplication, not addition. These metrics work together like Drake and 21 Savage, better as a duo than solo. Peter Thiel writes in 0 to 1 that competition is for losers, and high turnover is how you avoid competition by being too efficient to beat. That 1.6 turnover tells us Westerville isn't just sitting on assets like your roommate sits on dirty laundry. They're actively converting every dollar into revenue-generating activity. Question 3. What is last year's return on investment, ROI? Answer, 32%. Now we're cooking with gas. ROI equals margin times turnover, so 20% times 1.6 equals 32%. Let me verify this another way because trust but verify isn't just for relationships. ROI also equals net operating income divided by average operating assets. $200,000 divided by $625,000 equals 32%. Both methods arrive at the same answer because math doesn't lie, unlike your ex who said they'd Venmo you back. Let's make this real. Imagine you invested $1,000 in reselling concert tickets, legally of course. After a year of buying and flipping tickets, you've made $320 profit. That's a 32% ROI. And suddenly, you're wondering why you're majoring in accounting instead of becoming a ticket broker. Or think about it like your friend who started a campus laundry service, invested $5,000 in washers and dryers, and cleared $1,600 profit the first year. Same 32% ROI, except with more missing socks and angry customers. This return is destroying the stock market's historical average of 10%. It's like comparing a Ferrari to a campus shuttle bus. Ray Dalio says, "He who lives by the crystal ball will eat shattered glass." But with a 32% ROI, Westerville isn't predicting the future. They're creating it. This return is better than most crypto gains, without the volatility and Elon Musk tweets. Better than real estate, without the property taxes and maintenance nightmares. And definitely better than that investment in supreme drops that are now sitting in your closet. In the 1920s, General Motors used ROI to overtake Ford, proving that measuring return on investment isn't just accounting, it's strategic warfare. But here's the plot twist that's about to blow your mind. This beautiful 32% ROI is about to become the villain in our story. Malcolm Gladwell talks about how our greatest strengths can become our greatest weaknesses, and Westerville's high ROI is about to prove him right. When you're already at 32%, any new investment that doesn't match that level looks like failure, even if it's profitable. It's like refusing to date anyone who isn't a 10 when you're lonely on Valentine's Day. Sometimes perfect is the enemy of good. This 32% is about to create what I call the excellence trap, where being too good at something prevents you from growing. Question 4. What is the margin related to this year's investment opportunity? Answer, 15%. Let's calculate this step by step like we're following a TikTok recipe that actually works. First, the contribution margin. Sales of $200,000 times the contribution margin ratio of 60% equals $120,000. But wait, we're not done. Subtract those fixed expenses of $90,000, and we get a net operating income of $30,000. Now margin equals $30,000 divided by $200,000 equals 15%. It's giving lower margins than the current operations. But stay with me. This is where it gets interesting. This is like when you consider adding DoorDash driving to your tutoring gig. Tutoring pays you $40 per hour with basically no expenses. That's like a 95% margin. DoorDash might only net you $15 per hour after gas. That's more like a 50% margin. But if you've got empty hours, that lower margin opportunity still puts money in your pocket. Or think about it like adding a minor to your major. Sure, the ROI on those extra classes might be lower than focusing solely on your major, but the diversification could open doors you never imagined. Jack Welch, former CEO of GE, said, "If the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside, the end is near." That 15% margin on the new opportunity might seem weak compared to the current 20%, but what if this new product line is the future? What if wireless gaming headsets are about to explode like AirPods did? Netflix started with DVD rentals at razor-thin margins before streaming changed everything. Sometimes you accept lower margins today to dominate tomorrow. Why behind this matters more than the number itself. Carnegie didn't build his empire by maintaining margins. He built it by strategically accepting lower margins to gain market share, then using scale to improve them. This 15% margin is still above Westerville's 15% hurdle rate. It's like getting a B+ when you only needed a C to pass. It's not spectacular, but it's solid. The real question isn't whether 15% is good, it's whether rejecting profitable opportunities because they're not profitable enough is smart. Spoiler alert, it's not. And we're about to prove why. Question 5. What is the turnover related to this year's investment opportunity? Answer, 1.67 times. Check this out. Turnover equals sales divided by investment. So $200,000 divided by $120,000 equals 1.67. This new opportunity actually has better asset efficiency than current operations. It's like discovering that your side hustle generates more activity per dollar invested than your main gig. The numbers are speaking, and they're saying this investment knows how to work harder, not just smarter. Picture this. You invest $600 in a camera for YouTube videos, and within a year, you've booked $1,000 in paid shoots. That's a 1.67 turnover. Or your friend who bought a $1,200 car and made $2,000 doing Uber Eats deliveries. Same ratio, different hustle. This turnover rate is like having a TikTok video with a higher engagement rate than your current content. It might not have as many views yet, but the algorithm loves it. Steve Jobs famously said, "Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower." This higher turnover of 1.67 versus the current 1.6 suggests the new investment is more innovative, more efficient at converting assets to sales. It's like Tesla's Gigafactory, massive upfront investment, but the turnover rate once operational is astronomical. Westerville's new opportunity is showing signs of being a velocity play, moving faster than the current business. The strategic beauty here is that turnover improvements compound over time. It's not just about the 0.07 difference. It's about what that represents. Higher turnover means faster cash conversion, less working capital needed, and more flexibility. It's the difference between Netflix's instant streaming model and Blockbuster's physical inventory model. One had turnover measured in milliseconds, the other in days. Guess which one survived? This 1.67 turnover is whispering future, while everyone's focused on the present. Question 6. What is the ROI related to this year's investment opportunity? Answer, 25%. Mathematics doesn't lie. ROI equals margin times turnover. 15% times 1.67 equals 25%. Let's double check, because accuracy matters more than your Snapchat streak. $30,000 net operating income divided by $120,000. Investment equals 25%. Both paths lead to the same destination. This investment would generate a 25% return. That's better than your student loan interest rate is worse, if you know what I mean. Real talk. If someone offered you a guaranteed 25% return on your money, you'd think it's a scam, right? Like those Forex traders in your DMs promising to 10 times your investment. But this isn't crypto speculation or MLM nonsense. This is legitimate business operations generating real returns. It's like finding out that subletting your apartment for the summer nets you 25% more than you paid in rent, or discovering that buying textbooks in bulk and reselling them generates a 25% markup. This return would make any hedge fund manager jealous. Charlie Munger says, "The big money is not in the buying and selling, but in the owning and holding." A 25% ROI on a legitimate business opportunity is exactly what he's talking about. This isn't day trading or gambling, it's building assets that generate returns. Compare this to the S&P 500's average return of 10% or your savings account's insulting 0.01%. This investment is literally generating returns that beat 90% of professional money managers. But here's where psychology crashes into mathematics. Westerville's current ROI is 32%, so this 25% looks like a downgrade. It's like being upset about getting into your second choice school when most people would kill for that acceptance letter. The tragedy here is that 25% is excellent, but when you're comparing it to 32%, excellence looks like mediocrity. This is what I call the comparison trap, where good opportunities die because they're not the best opportunity. Peter Drucker warned us, "There is nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all." But the reverse is also true. There's nothing so wasteful as not doing something profitable just because it's not as profitable as what you're currently doing. Question 7. If the company pursues the investment opportunity and otherwise performs the same as last year, what margin will it earn this year? Answer: 19.17%. Let's do the integration dance. Total sales becomes $1 million plus $200,000 equals $1,200,000. Total net operating income becomes $200,000 plus $30,000 equals $230,000. Combined margin equals $230,000 divided by $1,200,000 equals 19.17%. Notice how the margin dropped from 20% to 19.17%. That's dilution in action, like when you add water to your pre-workout and it doesn't hit the same. This is exactly what happens when you take easier classes to boost your GPA, but they're worth fewer credits. Sure, you got an A in Intro to Walking. Yes, that's a real class, but it diluted your overall GPA because your engineering classes carry more weight. Or think about a restaurant adding a food truck. The truck might have lower margins than the sit-down restaurant, but it's still profitable. The combined margin decreases, but the absolute profit increases. It's giving suffering from success energy. Howard Schultz at Starbucks faced this exact dilemma when introducing ready-to-drink beverages in grocery stores. Lower margins than cafe sales, but massive volume potential. He said, "In times of adversity and change, we really discover who we are and what we're made of." The decision to accept margin dilution for growth separates empire builders from lifestyle business owners. Amazon accepted negative margins for years to build market dominance. Now they're worth more than the GDP of most countries. The psychological impact here is brutal. Imagine telling shareholders, "Good news, we made more money. Bad news, our margin percentage decreased." It's like celebrating gaining muscle. While your body fat percentage goes up slightly, you're healthier overall, but that one metric looks worse. This is why so many companies pass on profitable growth opportunities. They're optimizing for optics instead of outcomes. Malcolm Gladwell calls this the simplicity trap. When we reduce complex situations to single metrics, we make simple decisions that are simply wrong. Question 8. If the company pursues the investment opportunity and otherwise performs the same as last year, what turnover will it earn this year? Answer: 1.61 times. Watch how this plays out. Total assets become $625,000 plus $120,000 equals $745,000. Total sales stay at $1,200,000 from our previous calculation. Combined turnover equals $1,200,000 divided by $745,000 equals 1.61. The turnover actually improved from 1.60 to 1.61. Marginal, but movement in the right direction, like your GPA going from 3.50 to 3.51. Every little bit counts when you're fighting for summa cum laude. It's like when you add a second monitor to your setup. Your total investment in equipment goes up, but your productivity, output per dollar of equipment, actually increases. Or consider adding a meal prep service to your routine. Yes, you're spending more money overall, but the time saved lets you take on more tutoring hours, improving your overall life turnover ratio. The combined effect shows the new investment is pulling its weight and then some. Sam Walton built Walmart on the principle of turnover, saying high expectations are the key to everything. This 1.61 turnover exceeds expectations by showing that adding new investments can actually improve overall efficiency. It's counterintuitive, like how buying a gym membership actually saves you money if it replaces therapy, medical bills, and stress eating. The new investment isn't dragging down the average, it's lifting it up. The real gem here is understanding portfolio effects. When Berkshire Hathaway acquires a company, Buffett doesn't just look at individual metrics, he looks at how it affects the entire portfolio. This improved turnover suggests synergies, like how having both Instagram and Facebook makes Meta stronger than either platform alone. The combined turnover of 1.61 is proof that 1 plus 1 can equal 2.1 when the pieces fit together properly. It's the business equivalent of a perfectly balanced Valorant team composition. Each element makes the others stronger. Question 9. If the company pursues the investment opportunity and otherwise performs the same as last year, what ROI will it earn this year? Answer: 30.87%. Here comes the moment of truth. Combined ROI equals $230,000 divided by $745,000 equals 30.87%. We can verify this using our margin and turnover. 19.17% times 1.61 equals 30.87%. The math is mathing, but notice how ROI dropped from 32% to 30.87%. This 1.13% decrease is about to cause more drama than your group chat when someone leaves on red. This is like when your overall K/D ratio in Call of Duty drops slightly because you're learning a new map. You're actually getting better at the game overall, gaining new skills, but that one metric takes a temporary hit. Or imagine your GPA dropping from 3.9 to 3.85 because you challenged yourself with harder courses instead of taking easy A's. The number went down, but your actual capability went up. That's exactly what's happening with Westerville's ROI. Jack Ma of Alibaba said, "Today is hard, tomorrow will be worse, but the day after tomorrow will be sunshine." This ROI decrease from 32% to 30.87% is the today is hard part. But let's have some perspective. 30.87% is still destroying the market. It's like complaining that your Tesla only goes 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds instead of 3.0. You're still beating 99% of cars on the road. If someone offered you a guaranteed 30.87% annual return, you'd sell everything you own to invest. But here's where human psychology defeats mathematical logic. The CEO sees 32% becoming 30.87% and thinks, failure. It's the same energy as getting a 98% on an exam and being upset about the 2% you missed. This is what behavioral economists call loss aversion. We feel losses twice as powerfully as equivalent gains. That 1.13% decrease feels like disaster, even though the company would make more absolute profit. It's the corporate equivalent of turning down a promotion because your title would be longer and harder to fit on a business card. Question 10. If Westerville's chief executive officer will earn a bonus only if her ROI from this year exceeds her ROI from last year, would she pursue the investment opportunity? Would the owners of the company want her to pursue the investment opportunity? Answer: CEO would reject. ROI drops from 32% to 30.87%. Owners would accept. 25% exceeds 15% minimum required return. This is where the class war begins, and I'm not talking about your 8 a.m. versus your desire for sleep. The CEO, bonus tied to ROI, sees this. Current ROI of 32% would drop to 30.87%. That's a no-go, case closed, her Tesla lease isn't paying itself. She's rejecting faster than you rejected that person who asked you out via LinkedIn. Meanwhile, the owners are looking at this investment generating 25% returns when they only need 15%. and they're wondering why the CEO is leaving money on the table. It's giving my interests versus your interests energy, and somebody's about to get played. This is exactly like when team captain in your intramural league won't pass to the open player because they're chasing the scoring title. Sure, their stats look better, but the team loses. Or imagine a social media influencer refusing to collaborate with others because it might dilute their individual engagement rate, even though the collaboration would grow their absolute followers. The CEO is optimizing for her personal scorecard, while the owners are trying to optimize for actual wealth creation. It's the principal-agent problem in its purest form. Warren Buffett calls this the institutional imperative, when organizations do dumb things because of how they measure smart things. In the 1980s, CEO Al Dunlap was famous for improving ROI by refusing all investments and cutting costs to the bone. He looked like a hero on paper until the companies collapsed from lack of growth. As Peter Drucker said, what gets measured gets managed, even when it's pointless to measure and manage it, and even if it harms the purpose of the organization. This conflict is why Silicon Valley shifted to giving CEOs stock options instead of ROI bonuses. When Elon Musk's compensation is tied to Tesla's market cap, he doesn't care if individual metrics drop temporarily. He cares about long-term value. The owners want the investment because it creates $30,000 of new profit on $120,000 invested. That's like finding a part-time job that pays $25 per hour when minimum wage is $15. You take that opportunity every single time, unless your bonus depends on maintaining a different metric entirely. Welcome to corporate America, where the scorecard matters more than the score. Question 11. What is last year's residual income? Answer: $106,250. Now we're entering the solution zone. Residual income equals net operating income minus the minimum required return on assets. Let's calculate $200,000 minus 15% times $625,000 equals $200,000 minus $93,750 equals $106,250. This is the real value Westerville created above and beyond the minimum expectations. It's like getting extra credit on top of an A+. You're not just meeting standards, you're exceeding them by 6 figures. Think of residual income like your profit after paying yourself a fair wage. If you run a tutoring business that generates $10,000 profit, but you could have made $7,000 working for someone else, your residual income is $3,000. That's the extra value you created by being an entrepreneur. Or imagine your investment portfolio returns 20% when you could have gotten 7% in an index fund. That 13% difference is your residual income, your alpha, your sauce. Westerville's $106,250 is their sauce, and it's spicy. Charlie Munger says, "Show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome." Residual income changes the incentive from beat last year's percentage to create maximum value above the minimum threshold. It's the difference between grading on a curve versus grading against a standard. Under residual income, creating any value above 15% is good. It doesn't matter if it's 20%, 25%, or 32%. Value is value. This metric, says Westerville, created $106,250 of pure economic profit last year. The beauty of residual income is its honesty. ROI can be manipulated by refusing investments or selling assets. Margin can be gained by cutting necessary expenses. But residual income? It only increases when you create real value above the cost of capital. It's like measuring your fitness by how you feel, rather than what the scale says. It captures the full picture. That $106,250 represents wealth creation that would make any shareholder smile, unlike ROI metrics that might make them cry, while the CEO cashes bonus checks. Question 12. What is the residual income of this year's investment opportunity? Answer: $12,000. Let's calculate the value creation. Net operating income of $30,000 minus required return of 15% times $120,000 equals $30,000 minus $18,000 equals $12,000. This investment creates $12,000 of value above the minimum threshold. It's not going to buy you a Lamborghini, but it's definitely paying for your parking permits for the next decade. This is pure value creation, no cap, no manipulation, just straight profit above expectations. This is like when you flip furniture from Facebook Marketplace. You invest $500 in a beat-up couch, spend time restoring it, and sell it for $700. After considering that you could have made $75 working those hours at minimum wage, you still created $125 in extra value. That's residual income, the profit that exists even after fairly compensating all resources. Or think about subletting your apartment for the summer. After covering your rent obligation, that extra $2,000 is pure residual income. Jeff Bezos built Amazon by focusing on long-term value creation over short-term metrics. He famously said, "We're not competitor-obsessed, we're customer-obsessed. We start with what the customer needs and work backwards." This $12,000 residual income represents customer value that exceeds the cost of creating it. It's not massive, but it's positive, and positive value creation is how empires are built, one profitable decision at a time. The critical insight here is that $12,000 is greater than $0. In the world of residual income, any positive number is a win. It's like your GPA. Whether you get a 4.0 or a 3.5, you're still on the dean's list. This investment clears the hurdle with room to spare. Compare this to most corporate investments that destroy value, like WeWork burning billions while claiming growth, or Quibi spending $2 billion to create $0 in residual income. Westerville's opportunity might not be spectacular, but it's solid, sustainable, and most importantly, profitable above the cost of capital. Question 13. If the company pursues the investment opportunity and otherwise performs the same as last year, what residual income will it earn this year? Answer: $118,250. Watch the magic happen. Total net operating income of $230,000 minus required return on total assets. 15% times $745,000 equals $230,000 minus $111,750 equals $118,250. The combined residual income increases from $106,250 to $118,250. That's a $12,000 increase, exactly matching the investment's standalone residual income. Unlike ROI, residual income is additive. Good plus good equals better, period. It's like when you add a second income stream to your life. Your tutoring business generates $5,000 residual income, and your YouTube channel adds another $2,000, combined $7,000 residual income. No complicated percentages or ratios, just straightforward value addition. Or consider adding another rental property to your portfolio. If it generates positive cash flow above your required return, your total residual income increases. Simple math for complex decisions. Ray Dalio's Principles emphasizes that truth, or more precisely, an accurate understanding of reality, is the essential foundation for any good outcome. The truth here is crystal clear. Accepting the investment creates an additional $12,000 in value. There's no percentage gymnastics, no ratio manipulation, just pure value creation that would make any rational owner happy. It's the business equivalent of finding $12,000 in your winter coat pocket. Unexpected, but definitely welcome. This is why sophisticated companies use residual income, or its cousin, economic value added, for decision making. When Coca-Cola implemented EVA in the 1980s, they stopped rejecting profitable investments just because they diluted ratios. The result? Decades of sustained growth and value creation. That $118,250 combined residual income tells the real story. Westerville would be $12,000 richer by accepting the investment. It's not complicated, it's not controversial. It's just math telling the truth that ROI tried to hide. Question 14. If Westerville's chief executive officer will earn a bonus only if her residual income from this year exceeds her residual income from last year, would she pursue the investment opportunity? Answer: yes, CEO would accept. Residual income increases by $12,000. Plot twist. Change the bonus structure from ROI to residual income, and suddenly the CEO transforms from obstacle to champion. She sees residual income rising from $106,250 to $118,250 and thinks that's a $12,000 increase to my scorecard and my bonus. The math isn't just mathing, it's harmonizing. The CEO and owners are now rowing in the same direction, like when your group project members actually show up and contribute. It's beautiful, it's rare, and it's exactly how compensation should work. This is like switching from being paid by the hour to being paid by the project. Suddenly, you care about efficiency and value, not just putting in time. Or imagine if your grade was based on absolute point improvement rather than class rank. You'd help your classmates because their success doesn't diminish yours. The CEO under residual income incentives thinks like an owner because the metrics align with ownership interests. No more corporate Hunger Games where someone has to lose for someone else to win. Jack Welch transformed GE by aligning executive compensation with shareholder value, saying, if you don't have a competitive advantage, don't compete. With residual income bonuses, Westerville's CEO gains a competitive advantage by making decisions that create real value. It's no longer about maintaining ratios or playing accounting games. It's about finding every opportunity that generates returns above the cost of capital and executing it. The investment opportunity becomes a no-brainer instead of a political football. The psychological shift here is massive. Under ROI, the CEO thinks, how does this affect my metric? Under residual income, she thinks, how does this create value? It's the difference between optimizing for Instagram likes versus optimizing for genuine connections. One makes you look good, the other makes you actually good. That $12,000 increase in residual income means both the CEO and shareholders win. It's not zero sum, it's positive sum. And that's how great companies are built, when everyone wins by creating value, not by playing games with metrics. Question 15. Assume the contribution margin ratio of the investment opportunity was 50% instead of 60%. If Westerville's chief executive officer will earn a bonus only if her residual income from this year exceeds her residual income from last year, would she pursue the investment opportunity? Answer: no. Both CEO and owners would reject. Residual income would be negative $8,000. Let's run these numbers with the new reality. Contribution margin becomes $200,000 times 50% equals $100,000. After subtracting $90,000 in fixed expenses, net operating income drops to just $10,000. Now calculate residual income. $10,000 minus 15% times $120,000 equals $10,000 minus $18,000 equals negative $8,000. That negative sign isn't a typo. This investment would destroy value. It's like paying $20 for a $10 meal. You're literally burning money. This is exactly what happens when you take a job that pays less than your opportunity cost. If you can make $25 per hour tutoring, but take a retail job paying $15 per hour, you're destroying $10 per hour of value. Or imagine buying a rental property that generates $1,000 per month in rent, but costs $1,200 per month in mortgage and expenses. That's negative residual income, and your bank account will remind you monthly. The 50% contribution margin scenario turns a winner into a loser faster than crypto in a bear market. Warren Buffett says, the first rule of investment is don't lose money. The second rule is don't forget the first rule. With negative $8,000 residual income, this investment violates both rules. It's not just missing the target, it's shooting yourself in the foot. Even Amazon, famous for accepting losses for growth, never accepted investments with negative residual income. They invested in projects that lost money today but would create value tomorrow. This scenario creates no value today, tomorrow, or ever. The beautiful alignment here is that both the CEO and owners would reject this investment. When residual income is negative, there's no conflict, no debate, no agency problem. Everyone agrees it's a bad idea. It's like when everyone in your friend group agrees that gas station sushi is a bad idea. Unanimous rejection based on clear evidence. The 50% contribution margin drops the investment below the minimum acceptable return, and residual income makes that crystal clear. No games, no manipulation, just math protecting the company from bad decisions. Let me paint you the complete picture of what we just witnessed. This isn't just about numbers. It's about the fundamental conflict at the heart of corporate America. We started with Westerville Company, crushing it with 32% ROI, looking like the valedictorian of the business world. Then an investment opportunity enters the chat. Profitable, valuable, but not as profitable as current operations. Under ROI metrics, the CEO becomes the villain in her own success story, rejecting profitable investments to protect her bonus. It's giving I got mine energy when there's more money to be made for everyone. But then we introduced residual income, the superhero metric that nobody talks about enough. Suddenly, the same CEO who was blocking progress becomes its champion. The $12,000 increase in residual income aligns her interest with shareholders faster than you align your schedule with free food events on campus. Peter Drucker said, "Management is doing things right, leadership is doing the right things." Residual income ensures both management and leadership point in the same direction, toward value creation, not metric manipulation. The integration here shows us that Westerville's story is actually your story. Every time you choose between two job offers, you're calculating ROI. Every time you decide whether to take an extra course, you're evaluating residual income. The framework we've built doesn't just apply to Fortune 500 companies. It applies to your side hustles, your career choices, your investment decisions. Malcolm Gladwell argues in Outliers that success is about context and systems, not just individual brilliance. The context of how we measure success, ROI versus residual income, completely changes the system's output. Think about the broader implications. How many companies are leaving money on the table because they're optimizing for the wrong metrics? How many CEOs are making shareholders poorer while earning bonuses? How many of your own decisions are based on measuring the wrong thing? If Instagram measured success by photo quality instead of engagement, the platform would be completely different. If colleges measured success by student learning instead of graduation rates, education would be transformed. Westerville's journey from ROI to residual income is a masterclass in the power of measuring what actually matters. Leaning into the strategic perspective. Here's what separates the Fortune 500 from the Fortune 5 million. Understanding that competitive advantage comes from making better decisions, and better decisions come from better metrics. Companies using residual income or economic value added consistently outperform those using traditional ROI. Coca-Cola, Whole Foods, Best Buy. They all shifted to value-based metrics and saw their stock prices follow. It's not correlation, it's causation. When you measure value creation instead of ratios, you create more value. Revolutionary, I know. The modern business application is everywhere. Tesla measures success by production capacity and customer satisfaction, not quarterly earnings ratios. Netflix focuses on subscriber lifetime value, not monthly margin percentages. Amazon famously ignored ROI for 2 decades while building the most valuable retail empire in history. Jeff Bezos said, "If you're long-term oriented, customer interests and shareholder interests align. Residual income is the mathematical expression of that alignment." Let's talk competitive positioning. If your competitors are using ROI and rejecting profitable investments while you're using residual income and accepting them, who wins long-term? It's like if everyone else is playing checkers while you're playing chess. They're optimizing for today's metrics while you're building tomorrow's empire. In the 1990s, private equity firms started using residual income concepts to identify undervalued companies. They'd buy firms rejecting profitable investments due to ROI concerns, implement value-based metrics, and sell them for 10 times returns. The industry comparison is striking. High ROI industries like software, 40% plus ROI, often grow slower than lower ROI industries like logistics, 15% ROI, because the high ROI firms reject more opportunities. It's the corporate equivalent of being so picky on dating apps that you stay single forever. Meanwhile, companies that focus on residual income grow consistently because they take every value-creating opportunity, regardless of how it affects their ratios. As Sun Tzu wrote in The Art of War, opportunities multiply as they are seized. Residual income ensures you seize every profitable opportunity, while ROI ensures you miss most of them. All right, future executives, here's your 5-step action plan to never get played by metrics again. First, when evaluating any decision, from job offers to investment opportunities, calculate the residual income, not just the ROI. Ask yourself, what's the value created above my minimum acceptable return? If you wouldn't accept less than $20 per hour and a job pays $25 per hour, that $5 difference is your residual income. Focus on that, not the percentage increase from your last job. Second, in your career, negotiate bonuses based on value creation, not percentage improvements. When you're in position to influence compensation structures, remember this lecture. Push for metrics that align everyone's interests. If you're starting a business with partners, tie rewards to absolute profit above a threshold, not to margin percentages or ROI. It's the difference between building a company and building a house of cards. Third, personally apply this to your education investment. Your degree costs $120,000 and 4 years of opportunity cost. If you could earn $30,000 per year without college, your hurdle rate is $150,000 over 4 years. Every dollar you earn above that threshold is your educational residual income. This framework helps you evaluate graduate school, certifications, and additional training. Don't just ask, what's the ROI? Ask, what's the value created above my alternatives? Fourth, when you're analyzing companies for investment or employment, look for those using value-based metrics. Companies reporting economic value added, EVA, or explicitly discussing value creation above cost of capital are playing the long game. They're the ones that will grow sustainably. As you build your portfolio or choose employers, this knowledge gives you an edge that 90% of people don't have. Finally, remember that to know accounting, you must do accounting. Open Excel right now and calculate the residual income for a real decision you're facing. Should you buy a car or keep using rideshare? Should you take the paid internship or the unpaid one at a better company? Should you invest in crypto or index funds? Run the numbers using both ROI and residual income and see how different metrics lead to different decisions. This isn't just academic. It's practical wisdom that will literally pay dividends for the rest of your life. Life is too short to optimize for the wrong metrics. Whether you're running a Fortune 500 company or running your own life, measuring the right thing is the difference between real success and the appearance of success. Westerville Company taught us that brilliant companies can make terrible decisions when they measure the wrong things. Don't let that be your story. Use residual income, create real value, and remember, the numbers don't lie, but they can definitely mislead if you're not asking them the right questions.